What's up, fight fans? What's going on? The homie, main man, made man in the building. Y'all know how I get down. We talking boxing, man. So, man, I got some time. I'm sitting here waiting for some folks, so I got a couple minutes. So I figure I get up on here with the boxing fam and some of the boxing fans, whoever drop on through, whoever catches on the playback, salute to you as well. And we're going to drill down on a specific issue that I really want to talk about, man. I wanted to do this on the mic, but time permitting, this is the best time for me to do it right now. But I really wanted to do this on the mic, but I got time, man. My people say they're not going to be here for another 30 to 45 minutes, so I'm just chilling right now. Chin Smoke, what's up, famo? What's up with you, man? Yo, man, we're going to talk about something real interesting right now, and that is Canelo Alvarez's claim to being number one pound for pound. Now, let's just say at the top of this video, pound for pound is very subjective. It's an opinion. You know what I'm saying? It's my opinion. It's your opinion. Your list may not be my list. So let's just outline that from the jump. There isn't no legal written down criteria as to exactly what you're supposed to hold pound for pound to. The main objective of it is to bring attention to the smaller weights, because the heavyweights back in the day drained up all the attention in boxing. And so to bring attention to the lower weights, the question was asked, if these guys at the lower weights were a heavyweight, how would they compete? And that's allegedly how you're supposed to judge pound for pound. Now, with that being said, let's take a deeper look, man. Canelo Alvarez, and I hope it ain't too choppy out there for everybody. Let me just kind of back my seat up a little bit. Oscar De La Hoya is out here telling everybody that regardless of what Bud Crawford has done, regardless of what Vasyl Lomachenko has done, he sees Canelo Alvarez, by him coming up 2 weight classes to defeat Sergey Kovalev, he sees him as the number one pound for pound fighter. Now, we all supposed to expect Oscar De La Hoya, that is Canelo Alvarez's promoter. We are expecting Oscar De La Hoya to say that. We are also expecting the Ring magazine, which is owned by Golden Boy Promotions, to place Canelo as number one pound for pound. Don't go by that, fight fans. Do your own research and use your own mind when it comes down to this situation. Now, Canelo Alvarez, when it comes to resume and big wins, the question that I ask, is Canelo's resume and big wins bigger than what Bud Crawford, who is perceived today as the number one pound for pound fighter, and Vasyl Lomachenko? Let's just use these two for anyone who may say, well, man, I don't have Lomachenko as one or number. These are the two names that are, and these are the two names that they're exempling him to, so I'll use these two. Now, I believe that Terence Crawford is the number one pound for pound fighter. Now, here's this. Does Canelo's resume, do you think that it's better than Bud and Loma's? What is Canelo's biggest wins? And let's look at this. He originally got his WBC belt. I have my notes on the side for anybody wondering. He originally got his WBC belt from Matthew Hatton. Matthew Hatton didn't prove to be much. He fought Matthew Hatton for a vacant title, the WBC title, at 154 pounds. He then made his way through guys like Shane Mosley. Shane was old. Austin Trout. Austin Trout is a very, very respectable win for Canelo Alvarez. You know, Austin Trout, he fought him in a unification fight for the WBC and the WBA Super. That is a very notable win, because at that time, Austin Trout was seen as a major player at 154 pounds. I remember that time. That's a lot of things we got to do also. We got to go back to that time. You know what I'm saying? But Austin Trout, very respectable win. That's one. Erislandy Lara. Now, he fought Erislandy Lara. This is after his Mayweather loss at 154. Oh, I take that back. He fought Erislandy Lara at a catch weight of 155 pounds, which then Erislandy Lara, who was a world champion at the time, didn't even put his belt on the line because Canelo beat him in a close, razor-thin fight, not domination. He beat him at a catch weight. Okay, that's a big name. The next biggest name for Canelo Alvarez, Miguel Cotto. He fought Miguel Cotto for the 160-pound belt, the WBC belt, which up until recently, until they gave him that franchise belt, that's the belt that he had. And he took it from Miguel Cotto at a catch weight. of 157 pounds. They fought for the middleweight title, which is the 160-pound title, at 157-pound catch weight. There's an asterisk there. Not to mention Miguel Cotto was not the Miguel Cotto that we've known him to be. At that point, he was just a name. Remember, Miguel Cotto took the belt away from Sergio Martinez, who had no legs at the time. He couldn't even move. So was that the same Cotto that beat up on Antonio Margarito? Or was that a different Miguel Cotto? So should we give him credit for that at a catchweight? Okay, let's keep it moving. The Amir Khan fight was a joke. Amir Khan coming up 2 weight classes, a guy with no chin coming up 2 weight classes to fight a heavy puncher like Canelo Alverez. Can't give him credit for that. Chavez Jr., he fought Chavez Jr. at a catchweight of what, 165? A fight that meant nothing. Chavez Jr. nothing. So that fight doesn't give him no kudos. Okay, we're moving forward. Gennady Golovkin for all the marbles, the WBC, the WBA Super, and the IBF. He fought Gennady Golovkin to a draw in the first fight. We're going to get the Buzz resume, Sean. We're going to get the Buzz resume. Trust and believe. But he fought this man. Who would I leave off? On Chavez Jr. at a catchweight. It was a joke of a fight. We're moving right along. Right now, I'm only giving him credit for Austin Trout. The Laura fight, as Sean just mentioned, went down at a catchweight, Sean. Has Bud ever brought any of his champions down to a catchweight? He did not fight. Laura couldn't even put his belt on the line because it was at a catchweight. Not to mention, a lot of people thought Canelo lost that fight. If you go back to it, and man, I had that stat saved on my row where they had over 82 media members there, different media publications and stuff. A lot of those media people, I think it was about 30 of them, gave the fight to Erslandy Laura. And I think like 32 or 33 of them gave it to Canelo. And the other ones were undecided. That's a mean margin. You know what I mean? Like that's showing me that fight was razor thin close and it went down to the catchweight. But anyway, we're moving on. We're going to go forward. Gennady Golovkin, all of those belts on the line now. And he fights him to a draw. He didn't beat him. He fought him to a draw. So right now, I got one finger up, fight fans, and that's for Austin Trout. He fought him to a draw. He did not beat Gennady Golovkin in the first fight. And then after that, the PED scandal happened. And then this brought into question all of the fights, in my opinion, prior to that. Because you don't know how long Canelo Alverez has been doing what he has been doing. You don't know. It starts to put asterisks by all of the fights prior to that second Gennady Golovkin fight. You don't know how many. You have no idea. The PED scandal happens. Now a dark cloud is officially over Canelo Alverez. You know what I mean? He goes into the second fight with Gennady Golovkin and he beats Gennady Golovkin. However, this time around, there were less belts on the line. WBC, WBA, and IBF was long gone. So less belts. Granted, but he beat Gennady Golovkin. Now, this is post-PED scandal. At this time, Canelo was suspended for 6 months. He had to go through every test under the sun. And some may say, well, he served his time. Some may say, look, he's been tested crazy right now. So I guess we got to start giving him credit for the Gennady Golovkin fight. Remember when he originally came back after that Chavez Jr. fight? He didn't even want to, remember at the time, he didn't want to sign up for the clean boxer program. All of these things were suspect. But anyway, he beats Gennady Golovkin. So I'll give him credit for that. It's post-PED scandal. I'll give him credit for it, even though a lot of people still won't. I'll give him credit for that. That's 2 good wins. Daniel Jacobs. He fought Daniel Jacobs at the full-fledged weight class of 160 pounds. Daniel Jacobs at the time was a world champion. He had the IBF middleweight title. And Canelo Alvarez went in there, fair and square, and I do believe that Daniel Jacobs was the bigger man. And Canelo went in there and basically got, beat him on unanimous decision and took the belt off Daniel Jacobs. I'll give him credit for that win. That's 3 big wins thus far in Canelo's career that I give him full credit for. Rocky Fielding. A lot of people are running around and saying that Canelo Alverez is a 4-division champion. Are we calling Canelo Alvarez a 4-division champion when in one of these divisions he fought for the WBA regular title, which is not really the title that the supposed champion carries, which Callum Smith has? So are we now giving credit for secondary belts is the question that I'm asking. Are we giving credit for secondary belts? Because if you're giving him credit for that belt, yeah, he's a 4-division champion. If you don't, he's a 3-division champion, 54, 60, and 75. So are we fully? I don't think I give him credit for that, bro. If we're not going to do it for other fighters and say, oh, why are we doing it for? I've never accredited that belt as you being a world champion. I accredited that belt as you being a title holder, but not a world champion. Now, some may say I see things wrong because the WBA regular is the one of the two that actually has a mandatory. The WBA super doesn't, for the most part. So some may say, yo, bro, no, I give him full credit for that. You know what I mean? I don't. I consider him a 3-division world champion because the WBA regular is just a secondary belt. So he took that off Rocky Fielding, who was nothing to begin with. And then the big one, Sergey Kovalev, in which he just beat Sergey Kovalev this weekend. And I consider that a noteworthy win. Even though Sergey Kovalev recently coming off a fight, even though some people believe the fix was in, all of that, I still will give him credit for going up 2 weight classes. And given that he fought him at the full-fledged weight class, he didn't put a lot of stipulations like catch weights in there. There was, I believe, a rehydration clause in there, but I still give him credit for that because Sergey is the bigger man. So I give Canelo Alvarez credit for literally 4 fights of his career. And those 4 fights are Austin Trout, is Gennady Golovkin, Daniel Jacobs, and Sergey Kovalev. Those are the 4 big wins that Canelo Alvarez, in my opinion, claim to fame as to why he should be named as number 1 pound for pound. Now let's put that up against the other 2. Those are the 4, okay? Salute DJ Sign Love. What up, man? Luke Vandenblumer. All that stuff you just said won't even matter because the fix was in. I know that's right, homie. I know that's right. But those are the 4 big ones. You know what I'm saying? Now, let's look at Turnbull Crawford. Because clearly some people are like, bro, how you going to sit back and talk bad about Canelo resume when Terrence Crawford has issues? All right. And this is all going to come to a conclusion in the end. Turnbull Crawford. The best names that I perceive to be on Turnbull Crawford's resume, let's start from the beginning. Number 1, Ricky Burns. Ricky Burns, WBO 135-pound champion at the time. Why do you give him credit for Ricky Burns, main man? Because Ricky Burns won a title at 135, then went up to 140 after losing that title and gained 3 more belts. A bum wouldn't do that. Let's not forget, Julius Ndongo took all of those belts that he fought Terrence Crawford against for undisputed. He took those belts off of Ricky Burns. That's a credible name. 2-division world champion, almost undisputed in Ricky Burns. Sean Newton says beat by Crowler. Doesn't matter. The fact of the matter is still a 2-division world champion. That's still a feat, so we give him Bud credit for that. No catch weights, no stipulations, and went to the backyard of Ricky Burns in the UK. Credit to Turnbull Crawford. Huey Orkis Gamboa. I'm not as big one of Crawford fans are. I give him some credit for it, but Let's go back to that time. Huey Orcus Gamboa at that time was out of the ring for over a year. Huey Orcus Gamboa was just coming up to 35. Huey Orcus Gamboa was also dealing with scandals in the background. Remember that big PED scandal that came out about Major League Baseball? Well, guess whose name was also on the paperwork? Orcus Gamboa. On top of that, he was dealing with law issues, sexual assaults or assaults on his girlfriend somehow, some way or whatever. He was dealing with all kind of stuff. And so Bud caught him at a damn good time, I will admit. But at the time, Huey Orcus Gamboa was still perceived as a very, very good talent. Fast hands. When he came up to 35, they placed him very high amongst the rankings. Like, they showed him major respect, and then he did his thing down at 130. Are we giving Terrence Bud credit for Huey Orcus Gamboa? No catch weight. Big time elite name, big time elite talent at the time. I think we should. Too good for Terrence Crawford. Then Terrence Crawford goes up to 140 to face Victor Postal. Another big win, a big name for Terrence Crawford. Victor Postal at the time was the WBC champion, in which Terrence Crawford went into a unification fight with Victor Postal, who was perceived as the #1 fighter at the class. Victor Postal was perceived as #1 at that time. He had just came off that big win against, I believe it was Lucas Matisse, right? He was perceived as the #1 guy. Terrence went in there, took his belt, the WBC champion. No catch weights, no stipulations, no crap. That's a good third good name for Terrence Crawford. And he's moving up in weight. Let's keep it pushing. Julius Ndongo. Some may say, well, man, he wasn't that good. I mean, come on, he ain't beat nobody, and he lucked up with those belts and blah, 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 blah. Look who he fought, blah, blah, blah. Don't give me that crap. The fact of the matter was, Julius Ndongo had 3 belts at that time. You know what I'm saying? 3 belts. He had the IBF, and he had the WBA, and he had the IBO, if you want to consider the IBO. That's damn good. An opponent with 3 pieces of hardware around his waist. A victory over this man is a damn good victory, especially if I dominate him. And we'll get to styles. So I give Crawford credit for that. We're on number 4 here. Jeff Horn. Crawford goes up in weight and beats a fighter that has just recently beat a legend in Manny Pacquiao. And he went up in weight and bullied the bigger man. So when I think about how styles would translate to the heavyweight division, I see Crawford bullying bigger fighters. I don't always see Canelo bullying bigger fighters. I didn't see him really bully Gennady Golovkin. I didn't see him really bully, well, in Sergey Kovalev's case, yeah, no, but not like Bud did. Bud pushes you around, shoves you around, pushes your head down, talks crap to you, let you know that cuz you ain't running me over at all. And that's how Bud fought Jeff Horn. He bullied the bigger man. That's 5. Those are the 5 big names. We're at 4 for Canelo. We're at 5 for Bud. That I give Bud Crawford in his quest for pound supremacy. Now, last but not least, Vasyl Lomachenko. Vasyl Lomachenko, let's talk about the big names. The big names. The first one, I guess we got to talk about this because it happened, whatever the fuck. Gary Russell Jr., you know what I'm saying? And yeah, it was a good fight. He beat Gary on his second, it was a second fight or something like that. But it was a respectable win. Gary Russell Jr. currently is the king of 126, in my opinion. He stands on top of the division. And Vasyl Lomachenko has a victory over that young king. So, given that he has no catch weights, no stipulations, though Gary said something was going on with the scales, the fact of the matter is Loma got that win. Loma and Gary should run it back to this realm all day. As for the next big win I give for Vasyl Lomachenko, Rocky Roman Martinez. Even though Roman Martinez may not be a lot to y'all, the fact of the matter was at that time, Roman was a champion. And Roman was doing his thing. He was kicking ass. You know what I'm saying? That's a respectable win. That was, if I recall, Lomachenko's first belt at 130 came from Roman Martinez, where he won the WBO. He moved up in weight. First fight at the weight class, took a belt up off that champion. That's respectable. I give him credit for that. That's the same thing that Bud did. As opposed to Canelo Alverez, his first champion at 160, he fought him at a catchweight, which was Miguel Cotto. He fought him at a 157 catchweight. Loma went up, first fight at a new weight class, took the belt up off a champion. Bud did the same thing. Canelo didn't. Okay, cool. All right. Nicholas Walters. Do I give Lomachenko credit for Nicholas Walters? Nicholas Walters at that point was inactive himself. He was going through all kind of issues outside the ring. He had weight issues. He had ballooned up in weight, and he had to cut weight. Some was questioning his hunger. That wasn't the Axeman that we honestly all have always known because of the issues he was going through. So it wasn't the best version of himself. Do I give him full credit for Nicholas Walters? Walters had no belt at that time. Walters didn't have no belt. He was a good talent. He was a respectable name in the division, but he had no belt, and he was hungerless, and he blew up in weight. That's tough, man. I don't know. I guess we got to give him credit for Nicholas Walters. I mean, that's only but the right thing to do. That's 3 fighters. Guillermo Rigondeaux. He brought Guillermo Rigondeaux up to a weight class that he never fought at before. He didn't meet Guillermo Rigondeaux, say, down at his class or maybe halfway in, but he brought him up to a weight class that he never fought at before. But he made Rigondeaux quit. Do we give him full credit for that? I think not. The same way I cannot give Canelo Alvarez credit for Amir Khan for bringing him up and stopping an Amir Khan. I cannot give I can't give Vasyl Lomachenko credit for Guillermo Rigondeaux, a small fighter coming up to a class that he never fought at. Even though he quit, it was outsized. Jorge Linares. I give Vasyl Lomachenko full credit for Jorge Linares. Jorge Linares was perceived at the time as the top dog at 135. We thought we were going to get a fight between him and Mikey Garcia at the time that never came to fruition. It took Vasyl Lomachenko to come up from 130 to 135 to beat Jorge Linares. I give him full credit. And not to mention, Jorge Linares was a world champion when Lomachenko beat him. Jose Pedraza. As for Jose Pedraza, I don't give him and say he's a super talent. Davis had got rid of that dude. Not to mention, some people may say Vasyl didn't look that good in that fight because Vasyl was coming off surgery. And I remember that. And he did not look overly impressive in that fight, but he squeaked past. Aside from the fact that Jose Pedraza wasn't a top dog, I mean, in my opinion, though he was a champion, I believe at that time, I didn't see him as a top dog. And on top of that, Vasyl Lomachenko just stellar in that fight. I keep him at 4. And Luke Campbell and Adam Carolla were jokes. I don't give him fully credit. So I give Vasyl Lomachenko, out of all the names that we've named, 4. So that's 4 for Vasyl Lomachenko, 4 for Terrence Bud Crawford, and I believe 3 that we said for Canelo Alvarez, as far as when it comes to the people that they fought. So Canelo has not surpassed Loma or Bud in that category, in my opinion. Now, let's go from what hurts these guys' chances. As for Terrence Crawford, lack of big names. Terrence Crawford now fights at the welterweight division, 147. And the problem that he is running into right now is the lack of big names. I believe that you can become number 1 per pound, but I also believe that you can lose from being number 1 pound for pound. And the way you lose it is if you stop performing to the level of a number 1 pound for pound fighter, and you can be surpassed by other fighters. Bud's biggest problem is not what he's doing in the ring. It's not the fact that he's not chasing the fight. It's the fact that he just don't have them. And as of recent, he haven't been having them. The Benavidez fight, the Amir Khan fight, this upcoming fight with Aegis Kalvalauskas. He needs an injection of star power like yesterday. If he doesn't get this very soon, fighters will start to pass Terrence Bud Crawford. He needs to get more star power injected into his resume. That is the only knock on pound for pound that I have for Terrence Bud Crawford. As for Vasyl Lomachenko, He only has 15 fights. I think it's hard to say someone is number one when they only got 15 fights, but there are other criteria to use. He lost early in his career. That's something that you can also fight away from if you improve on that loss and you get big names along the way. Has he done that? I say yes. But however, he's also had bended rules bent in his favor, meaning that we've seen recently Vasyl Lomachenko being named as a franchise champion, taking away his mandatory in Devin Haney. It looks like protection. Bud has never been protected, none whatsoever. Canelo, you can say the WBC looked out for him, but nowhere like they did. Well, you know, Canelo's a franchise champion too. So Loma and Canelo, both being hooked up, don't have to fight their mandatories. Bud has never been hooked up by no sanctioning body. Those are knocks to me. So those are the knocks on Vasyl Lomachenko. As for Canelo Alverez, well, he has the biggest knocks. Catch weights. He fought several fighters at catch weights while he was at 154. On top of that, he did not give a lot of fans the fights that they wanted to see him fight at 154. We've been asking for the Andre fight since 54. We've been asking for the fight since 54. But he hasn't done it. He's avoided certain fighters. His cherry picking has became a knock on him going for pound. And I'm expecting the cash cow of boxing and cherry pick. That's just how the nature of the beast. Anybody who don't expect that, I don't know what to tell you. Floyd did it. Any cash cow would do it. They pick and choose on their terms who they want to fight. But Canelo has done it. Bud hasn't. Bud had to fight whoever they put in front of him. Bud has been hunting down opponents that has not been able to get in the ring with him. Earl Spence Jr., Showtime Sean Porter, Danny Garcia. None of these cats would get in the ring with him, but yet, and he's never been protected from none of these dudes. DJ Zion Love says Bud ego is his problem, but that don't have nothing to do with him wanting the bigger fights. You know what I mean? But anyway, catch weights has always been a problem and a knock on Canelo Alvarez for pound. PED scandal. That scandal, we talked about it earlier, it casts a dark cloud over so many of his fights. That hurts his pound for pound chances. There hasn't been a PED scandal with Bud. There hasn't been a PED scandal with Loma. So the cherry picking, the PED scandal, catch weights have all been knocks against Canelo Alvarez. I mean, this man fought so many catch weights that it ain't even funny, bruh. It ain't even funny. So now, with all that being said, it comes down to 4 categories. Hear me out, fight fans. 4 categories. Accomplishments, dominance, biggest victories, and style. After all the information that we just laid out in this video, we're going to bottle it at all levels. Comes out in these 4 categories. Accomplishments. Who wins that argument of accomplishments? I gotta say, when it comes to accomplishments, Terrence Bud Crawford comes in first place, given that he has been the only undisputed champion of all 3 of these dudes. That is the biggest accomplishment that any of the 3 has had. A total undisputed champion, all of the belts around one waist. Terrence Crawford is the only one to have done that. So in accomplishments, neither man has surpassed Crawford in that category. Loma is close. Loma now has 3 belts at 135. He needs 1 more, but he hasn't done it yet. When he does it, maybe we can have the conversation. The fact of the matter is he hasn't done it yet. And as for Canelo Alvarez, he had a chance to become undisputed. But just like him and Loma, they both want to accept franchise belts. They both want to, Canelo vacated his IBF title. He says that he ain't had nothing to do with it. Vacated his IBF title and allowed Sergey and Gennady Golovkin to fight for it. So the hope of undisputed has just got separated all the shit. So my thing is, he ain't undisputed, never been undisputed. So in the accomplishments department, Bud, Loma, and Canelo. Bud comes out on top. Dominance. Who has been the most dominant fighter of the 3? Who have been the most dominant fighter of the 3? Hit the thumbs up for the fam. What up, Renee Box Young in the building? Hit the thumbs up for the fam. When it comes to dominance, I gotta say, why do you say that, man? Loma's the only fighter of the three that has opponents quitting. He developed the name of No Mas Chenko. No Mas, meaning in the epic statement of No Mas said by Roberto Duran, no more. He is the only one that has had fighters consistently quitting. His dominance inside the ring. He literally had Guillermo Rigondeaux said he had an injury from hitting the air. I have never seen that before. That's called frustration. That's called dominance. For the way he beat Gary Russell Jr. I mean, you think about the way he beat Gary Russell, dominance. The way he's moved it through so many classes. And I used to knock Loma all the time, and I still give him this shit like he never reigns. He moves so fast that he don't like to reign at a weight class. But then I guess I stand semi-corrected because he did 5 fights at 126, and he's done 4 fights now at he did 5 fights at 126, and he did 4 fights at 26, 5 fights at 130, and I think like 4 fights now somewhere like that. But he's been at these classes for a minimum of 4 to 5 fights. And he hasn't lost. On top of that, he's avoided. He has literally approached fighters like Gervonta Davis, who's told him publicly he wanted no smoke. Whenever you are a fighter that fighters are telling you, I don't want to have no work with you, you are a dominant fighter. And he is going up through all classes and becoming champion, now in his 3rd class and about to be trying to become undisputed. I think he's been more dominant. As for Terence Crawford, I think he comes second in domination. Meaning that at 135 and at 140, to me, Crawford reigns supreme at both classes. He rose to the point of being on top of both divisions. I can't say that Canelo, he's only rose to the top of like maybe 2 divisions. I say he dominated 4, and that's questionable because no Charlo, no Andre, no Herb. But I don't think Herb was really on the scene at the time. He at 160, I can say he beat Golovkin and he beat Jacobs. Those are noteworthy, very noteworthy opponents, but not Andre and Charlo. Did he dominate the 160 division? And at 75, he has the 1 win, and at 168, he has 1 win. I got to put Canelo in 3rd when it comes to dominance. So Vasyl Lomachenko, Bud Crawford, Canelo win the dominance. So as of now, accomplishments, Bud is on top. Dominance, Vasyl Lomachenko is on top. The biggest victories between Canelo, Bud, and Loma. Who has the biggest victories? I have to give this to Canelo Alverez. Going up, regardless, y'all may think the fix is in and all of that other jazz. Going up to defeat Sergey Kovalev is not an easy feat. Yeah, advantages were taken. Yeah, all of that. You know what I mean? Advantages were taken, corners were cut, sure. But even so, when I think of the wins that these two have, Bud and Loma, they've never went up 2 classes and faced the champion. They've never done it. So I think that victory, some may say the Julius Ndongo victory for Terence Crawford could have been bigger because it was undisputed. Man, this one takes some thinking. I'm going to still give credit because who Sergey Kovalev was, I'd say Canelo has the bigger victory. Damn, that's tough though, man. Julius Ndongo had all those belts, man. But then you can also say Canelo's victory over Gennady Golovkin. He still took a lot of belts off Gennady Golovkin, and Gennady Golovkin at that time was perceived as the #1 guy. So yes, when it comes to the biggest victories, I would definitely have to give it to Canelo Alvarez for his victories over Sergey Kovalev and Gennady Golovkin. As for second, I'd give it to Terence Bud Crawford because of the victory over Julius Ndongo. Loma could have got it. But his victories over Rigondeaux, Gary Russell Jr., and Jorge Linares, nah, I don't think that tops Julius Ndongo, fight fans. Julius Ndongo had all of those belts, and he beat a 2-division champion to get them. That was for a undisputed match. So I got to put Bud in second place, Loma in third. So when it comes to the biggest victories, Canelo comes out on top. Now, we're on the last category. So far, accomplishments, Bud comes out on top. Dominance, Loma comes out on top. Biggest victories, Canelo comes out on top. Who wins this fourth category, to me, should be considered the number one pound-for-pound fighter in boxing. And that is style. Which style would translate better up to the heavyweight division if these fighters were heavyweights? Where did they say Ray Robinson was clean as a whistle, bruh? As a whistle. You hear me though? But which one of these fighters, stylistically, who do you think translate good to heavyweight? And the winner of that comes out for me as Terrence Bud Crawford. Why do you say that, man? Because I've seen Terrence Crawford box. I've seen Terrence Crawford bully bigger men. I've seen Terrence Crawford become the dog. I've never seen Terrence Crawford in a fight in a timid fashion. I've never seen Terrence Crawford nowhere near get dominated. You don't even see many opponents winning more than 3 to 4 rounds against top 3 rounds against Terrence Crawford fights. I've seen him hang with boxers, brawlers, you name it, movers, stationary targets. And he's dominated most of these opponents in different ways. Second place comes from Vasyl Lomachenko. Now, all of that, him making everybody quit, I don't know how well that translates up to heavyweight, because one big shot, all that scooting back you doing, all it takes is one damn shot. But Vasyl has shown that if he got to get to the inside and throw fast combinations, he can. I think his combination of footwork, his ability to go 12 rounds without really getting that tired, his output, his boxing IQ would translate well to heavyweights. And Canelo comes in third. I've seen Canelo touched up. I've seen Canelo getting tired. I've seen Canelo have major stamina issues. I believe that if Canelo was to go to be a heavyweight and take those same stamina problems with him, gassing out halfway through fights, having to take so many rounds off, that wouldn't translate well. Wouldn't translate well at all. Canelo's power can be questionable, because when you look at his victories, you see a lot of majority decisions and unanimous decisions. He KO'd Rocky Fielding and he KO'd Sergey Kovalev. Granted. Daniel Jacobs, UD. Triple G, UD. Triple G, UD. Chavez Jr., UD. Miguel Cotto, UD. Erslandy Lloyd, SD. Austin Trout, UD. Shane Mosley, UD. Matthew Hatton, UD. Am I really that super convinced that Canelo's power would translate very well up to heavyweight? So by my 4 categories, accomplishments, Bud wins it. Dominance, Loma wins it. Victories, Canelo wins it. And style, Bud wins it. Bud wins 2 of the 4 categories, which in my opinion, until he is surpassed, keeps him as the number 1 pound-for-pound fighter in boxing. Not to mention that Canelo gets extra strikes, in my opinion, for the PED scandal. And that is how I form my opinion for keeping Bud Crawford as the number 1 pound-for-pound guy. We only use Loma and Bud as the examples against Canelo because that's the talk that everybody's talking. And take in mind, Canelo doesn't come out on top in all of these categories, and he got more fights than both of them. Canelo got 56 fights. You know what I mean? So the catch weights, the PED scandals, the cherry picking, and the lack of dominance, in my opinion, because of his cherry picking, Those are the things that keep Canelo from becoming the #1 pound-for-pound champion. Now, could this change? Absolutely. If Canelo tomorrow, or the next fight, I'm sorry, beat Demetrius Andrade, will that help his chances? You damn right. If he beats another certified champion, not at a catchweight or nothing like that, does that help his chances? You damn right. If Canelo beats a Billy Joe Saunders, and especially if he dominates these opponents, will that help it? Could he be surpassed Bud and Loma? You damn right. But I think that he's reset it so much by the catchweights and PED that he has to put the extra work in to establish himself as the #1 pound-for-pound guy. And that's how I feel about it. Thumbs up for the fam, man. We just went through this whole damn thing. You know what I'm talking about? Thumbs up for the fam. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, man. So, everybody out there who think that this dude, #1, just roll back through the video. Let me read some comments and then I'm out of here. You know what I'm saying? All right, let's see. Let me go back through. I know I missed quite a few of y'all comments. So, let me go through. Let's see. Last of a Dime Breeze says, WBC just made Fury the mandatory for Wilder, whatever that means. Who knows? Man, nobody don't know what Fury going to do. He was going to do. Sean Newton says, Cotto was making guys fight at catchweights. You right about that, and I should have brought that up too. That was Cotto's idea. But the fact of the matter is that Canelo did it. It still doesn't take away from the fact that he did it. I don't really give a damn whose idea it was. It happened. Bud has never did it at a catchweight. Did it at a catchweight. That's a disadvantage for Canelo Alverez, Mo. Russell, Walters, Rigo, Linares, and Pedraza. That's Loma. That's Sean says that's his claim to fame for pound for pound. Rigo was a small fighter, bro. Pedraza, though, for real, Pedraza, who just got worn out by Tank Davis. And Russell, I give him full credit for that, man. Glitch Realm says Loma and Gurry should run it back all day. All day. Let me see. Last of a Dime Breed. Already read that. Cactex says pound for pound is BS. Too subjective. That's why I don't believe in it. There is no defined standard and a waste of time. That's why we gave that disclosure at the top of the video. Last of a Dime Breed says, what's the criteria for pound? Because I believe the eye test is important. The eye test is very important when you pound, because the golden question is how would these little dudes look if they were heavyweights? That's the #1 and really only official criteria that you have to judge pound for pound. It's not really in your gut and who you favor. It's, you know, if this guy was a heavyweight, stylistically, when you see him going through weights and if he's dominating these fighters, clearly his style would translate very well to heavyweight. And I don't think you could be considered pound for pound if you ain't moving up in weight. You have to be moving between classes. You can't stay in one. That's why when they be talking about Monster Nui and all that, man, I'd be like, he ain't moved up in weight classes. If you're not moving through weight classes, how can I tell you how well your style is going to translate to the heavyweight division when you're not moving up? You have to move up. You know what I mean? That's been my knock on Guillermo Rigondeaux. He don't want to move up. All day. Muhammad Almatola says, I got Canelo as of right now. Bud needs to face Porter and then Spence, while Loma still has to fight Teofimo and Haney. My thing is, okay, so you more so giving Canelo the credit because he does, when it comes to names, I mean, if you run through his resume, you'll see many more recognizable names on Canelo Alvarez's record. And I do think that Bud needs an infusion in star power. But in other areas is where I think Bud makes up for that, Muhammad Tola. I think like when you say he's undisputed, that gives him a lot of ground, a lot of points. When you say that he has been dominant in these weight classes, that got to give him a lot of points. When I think of Canelo's catchweights and PEDs and the cherry picking, that takes away from a lot of that to me. You know what I mean? That takes away from a lot of it. Chatterboxing says, I agree. Great fighter, but too many shenanigans with Canelo. The shit. Glitch Realm says Canelo could fight Charlo, Andrade, Mungia, Callum Smith, Dimitri Bivol, Caleb Plant, David Benavidez, Murata, and Julian Williams all day. And that's my point. Like, you got a list of names, and he got all the potential in the world to actually get that #1 pound for pound status. To me, he has all of the opportunity, all of the potential to do such. When he does it, we'll place him there. But he has honestly dug himself a hole with the scandals, the catchweights, and so on and so forth. So he got more ground to cover. But he has the opportunity and the ability to do such. If Canelo end up facing Charlo, Andre, Bivol, and Smith, it's a wrap all day. It's a wrap. He get those names on his belt. He damn, man, he #1 pound for pound by a mile. He #1 pound for pound emeritus and shit. You know what I'm saying? Word of the day says, I would have never think that someone like Canelo could beat Kovalev. Yeah, well, you know, when you coming off a fight, you know, 2 months ago and you got to jump right into camp after your last fight. I mean, you may not be the same fighter. I'm just saying Canelo was smart to pick Kovalev at the time where he picked him. That's all I'm going to say. You know what I mean? After a life and death fight with Yard. Credit to Canelo, but timing was crucial all day. I could not agree with you more. Could not agree with you more. Could not agree with you more. Crawford wins aren't questionable. Crawford makes them clean wins, not questionable, not maybe. How many of us out here still believe that Gennady Golovkin beat Canelo Alvarez? You don't hear that with Terence Crawford. You hear clean cut. He won. There ain't no debate here. None whatsoever. He won. That means stylistically, he's translating better going up in weight than Canelo is. These are the things that we got to think about. Glitch Realm says, what would Bud have done to Salido? Embarrassed him. Salido wouldn't have lasted 4 rounds with Terence Bud Crawford. Marcus Davis says Crawford is #1, Loma #2, and Canelo #3. I'd say Canelo be a more #4. I still think that what Alexander Usyk done is still a major accomplishment. Yeah, he went up to heavyweight and he fought a nobody, and he did not look that stellar. I will agree, but he still has the bigger accomplishment. But if you want to slide Canelo in #3, I still want to put Alexander Usyk there though, man. Manny has done more than Canelo. I don't include Manny at this point in his career because I just don't never include Manny Pacquiao. But if you want to go for Manny Pacquiao as of late, Thurman and Lucas Matisse and Adrian Bronner, it's not bad. It's not bad, but I don't think it cracks the top 5. I think that, good breakdown, I think that Canelo will end up fighting Charlo, Andre, Bivol, and Smith. Canelo's out here talking today like, you know, he don't believe that going back down to 160 is going to be that easy no more. Will Canelo stay at 175? I doubt it. I think he'll settle at 168 if he does try to stay at a higher weight. I think it'll be 168. The Callum Smith fight is still available. The Billy Joe Saunders fight will be on the table. And those are 2 fights that, I don't know about Billy Joe Saunders, but maybe Callum Smith. Maybe Callum Smith, but we'll see. I would love to see Bivol, man. I want Bivol to get on the map. Glitch Realm says, Bud is going to fight Earl. Bud called out Manny. He told Sean, let's go. Canelo says, Andre is born. He ignores Charlo. Exactly. That's what I'm trying to tell you. Bud don't run away from nothing. The fighters that he haven't fight, we say he needs an injection of star power. Well, this is not because of Bud. It's because of them. As for Canelo, who is the cash cow and diva, and anyone would take a fight with him, it's on him. He is choosing. No, I don't want Charlo. No, I don't want Andre. No, I'm not ready to go back with Gennady Golovkin. No, ain't no Caleb Plant. These are Canelo Alvarez decisions. I'm just saying. Does he have the WBA? Glitch Realm says, does he have the WBA? At 160, he has the WBA Super. At 168, he got the WBA Regular. So this is why I'm saying, fight fans, are we giving Canelo credit for being a 4-division world champion when in one of those divisions was for a secondary title? So is he a 4 weight class world champion, or is he a 3? The media, the boxing media, ain't gonna say that. Ain't nobody gonna say, oh, well, Canelo Alvarez, that WBA regular championship is not really considered the actual champion, right? But that's the one he won against Rocky Fielding. So technically, he's a 3-division champion. Correct? So that's all I'm saying. So that, to me, puts things in better perspective, fight fans. And I don't know, man. That to me puts things in much better perspective for me for who's #1 pound for pound, man. And yeah, man, I think I'm gonna roll with that. We'll see, but it can change at any time. And not only Canelo, man. Like There's other fighters that can also knock Bud out of it. I mean, if Earl come back and pick up where he left off and continue, there could be some cases made for Earl. If some fighters move up like Monster Nui, or like if Monster Nui goes up a weight class and do the same thing, we can have a conversation about him. You know what I mean? If Vasyl Lomachenko becomes undisputed, this might shake things up. You know what I mean? We just don't know. We'll evaluate when we get to those points. But right now, I still got Bud. And I'm going to leave it there, man. I got to get ready to get up out of here. Much love to each and every one of y'all. Thanks for everybody that rode with me through this live stream. Salute to everybody that catch it on the playback. Salute to everybody in Main Man Made Man's Boxing Forum. Salute over there on Facebook. Much love to each and every one of y'all, man. And don't forget to come on back here on Wednesday, man, for We Talking Boxing. It's going down. You know what I mean? If you're just coming on in, run this video back, man. We broke down pound for pound and why I don't consider Canelo Alverez #1 pound for pound, and I still have Bud as #1. Broke it down, and nobody can sit back and say that I pulled this just out my ass. I gave you the exact reasons. Much love. Enjoy the rest of y'all day. Stay stressed and sucker free. Hit the thumbs up on the way out if you didn't hit it on the way in. Much love for each and every one of y'all. And until the next one, peace out.